We're back, baby. It's the Horns Up Talking Texas podcast. Fisher, DJ Nikki, Snacks Crider, and the Quan Cosby. Get your horns up because we have a very special guest today, former UT running back. He set the record as a freshman, 276 yards on the ground versus Texas Tech. He tried to play it off before the show, saying, nah, it was just Texas Tech. Anybody can do it. But obviously, unbelievably impressive game out of our very special guest today, Chris Warren III. Chris, what's going on, man?
What's up? How you doing, guys? Yeah, I mean, let's be fair, Texas Tech, but I mean, no, those are all good guys, though. I mean, collegiate athletes, as we all know, but still, come on.
Yeah, they're built to stop the pass, not the run.
Oh yeah, their run defense is soft as Tiff treats, and we all understand that. Some of the softest cookies out there, which, by the way, just came to Cali for you Cali boys.
Tiff
Y'all
treats?
need to order some.
That we will.
Really?
I'll have to get on the train for Tiff's treats. We just got a Levain bakery. I don't know if you Texas guys have ever had Levain, but it's a New York-based cookie company, and it's without a doubt the best cookie on the planet. So,
oh, bro, Tiff cheese is Longhorn made. But anyways, we'll talk sports. We'll
talk cookies, Q.
Foodies.
Big game. They're one of their offensive linemen from Iowa State. He's shooting fire, and which honestly I kind of appreciate him trying to stir the pot a little bit. I'm into it. We are going into their house. We're going into their house with a guy who I think we could all comfortably say has been our best offensive player this season. Filled some big shoes as well as he could fill them. It's very unfortunate. You hate to see it. Hopefully he'll be back and good as new next year with Jonathan Brooks' injury. Q, I'm sure you've had injuries. Chris, I know you dealt with injuries in your career. What would you guys say to Jonathan Brooks? And then what would your message to the team be to help fill the void that he's leaving?
Well, I would say to JB, I would just tell him to just stay involved with the team. Because that's one of the things, especially even if he doesn't try to, he is one of I don't know how he is off the field or anything like that, but I know that he is one of their pillars on offense. So definitely stay involved with the team, stay around the guys. If he's a guy that leads by example, obviously he can't do that. So that's when you got to switch and build a little bit of leadership and start talking to guys a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree, really, from that standpoint. And ultimately, Chris knows this, Nick, you know this. When one of your guys, your captains, whether he had the patch or not, JB is, and he's top 3 back in the country, number 1 in Power 5. When they get hurt, you staying involved, being on the sideline when you can, a couple of games, probably not this one, the away game, but certainly when you get back home, just your boys seeing you down there and wanting to do a little more for you. Watching film from the sideline, talking to the freshman CJ, and of course, probably Blue's going to get a few more reps. Just that knowledge and kind of encouragement is always big, and rallying around that guy is certainly going to be a big deal because he's that special to the team. I mean, I'd argue Quinn is quarterbacks get all the love on every level, but JB, his consistency, the year he's having, maybe as big, if not a bigger injury than when Quinn went down. Now, fortunately, Quinn is back, and last game in Fort Worth, which I end up calling again, you can see a little bit of the rust, but he ended up turning it on and making some good plays. Not Quinn-ish the full game, but unfortunately for our Longhorns, we've kind of seen that almost every game of those lulls, and kudos to Quinn, AD on the massive play. And finding a way to win. That's, I think, the difference of what we're seeing in these guys, excluding kind of, again, the injury. And that's another piece of it. JB gets hurt, and they find a way to win it even after that. So he had 100+ before he got out. So just compensating, Sark, of course, game plan, compensating and making adjustments for missing a Jonathan Brooks. But kudos to those guys for being 9-1 and yet finding another road win. And TCU that weirdly has been a tough go since they got in the Big 12 for Texas.
Big thorn in our butt.
Dude.
TCU is one of them, man.
Yeah. Chris, do you feel, in your years too, that every time you stepped up to play somewhere, especially on the road, that was their team's Super Bowl in a sense, like the biggest target on your back?
Anytime someone plays Texas at home, like at their home, it's the biggest game of the year. Texas could be 0-7, but like it's the Longhorn, man. Like it's just that just like anytime anybody plays Alabama, when Alabama, like anytime they play them, like it means more. It means more, especially in the Big 12. So it's just one of those games, and I know that they're playing Iowa State. And I mean, at Iowa State, it's always a tough game, man. I don't know what it is. It's probably that grass, that air.
I was going to ask you, like, what is it about that area that they have like our numbers, so to speak, when we go to their house?
I don't know if they have our number though.
I wouldn't say that.
They have us 4 the last 5 times we're there.
No, that's not true. Actually, it was 2 or 3, I think, which is still more than it needs to be. Yeah. They beat us, I think, 3 times there and twice at home in the last, say, 10 games. So I think overall it might be 5-5 or something like that, which is unacceptable for our standards. But to Chris' point, that's not special to us. I mean, I think they took down Oklahoma State when they were number 2 there. They took down a lot of teams, and that's just, again, it's their Super Bowl. You know, ultimately, Campbell stayed there because – and he wouldn't admit this publicly, but the expectation levels, you upset a couple of people, they're throwing a party for the rest of the year and you're getting an extension.
Yeah, also, you think about it, like, it's Iowa State, right? So, like, Iowa State's never going to be the team of whatever conference they're in.
Right.
So, and being in the Big 12 these past couple of years, every game has been like a upset game for them. So
they're not even the team of Iowa. You got
I'm about to say Iowa State's not even going to be Iowa. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of their issue. That's the chip on their shoulder. And you know what's funny about the facts of it? Oh, they're all 5 stars, dude. We get maybe 2 or 3 5 stars a year if we're. That's with Sark being here. You know, I wasn't a 5-star. I had a great career. You know, and we all go there. That's what the power of the Longhorn does. You know, by you going to Texas, it's actually a compliment, and they don't even realize it. It's like, oh, you go to Texas, you have to be a 5-star, and a lot of guys aren't. You know, ultimately, other than Georgia and Bama, you don't see anyone getting 6, 7, 5 stars. So it just comes with it. You're going to get their best. They're going to hate on you because of that logo and that Longhorn. And kudos for them, because we haven't talked about it, but I think the guys, you have to be fired up before you hear something like that. But you absolutely got to throw a big old dump truck of fuel on the fire, especially on that level. Because Homeboy was talking cash money crap, even about Oklahoma, and they beat them by 30 earlier in the year. It just we need to do exactly what Oklahoma did to them.
It's definitely their Super Bowl. You guys said it best. I mean, it's their senior night too, and I think we're going to benefit from going to the SEC because of the fact that we benefit from going to the SEC because of the fact that every team in the SEC for the most part is like Alabama, Auburn, LSU. They've got that logo that's a big target on their back, and being in a conference like the Big 12 where you're playing against West Virginia, you're playing against Iowa State, you're playing against Kansas State and Kansas. Texas always has the target on their back, but going into SEC, you're more like the other teams. So I feel like these teams, it's like playing against OU every single week for these teams, basically. Like what OU, even if OU is, 0-4 coming into the game, they're still going to give it all their best because it's Texas versus OU. That's how every team feels about playing Texas. And it might not be that way. I mean, it's probably going to be that way the first couple of years when we go to the SEC because they're like, welcome to the SEC. But at the end of the day, I think we're more similar to a lot of these teams, which we're probably going to benefit from. But yeah, I mean, these guys have nothing left to play for. I mean, it's their senior night. They want to go out with a bang, and they want this to be the resounding statement win of the season and send Texas off,
This will give Campbell another raise. I mean, that's really how it is. You beat Texas, you get an extension. I put it like this. Ultimately, Campbell are like, we held on to him. We gave him a raise. I mean, you lose this game, you're 3-4 losses in, and they're like, all right, where's our ceiling? Where are we going? How are we going to fare in the new Big 12? And this right here will give him that he's going to coach hard. He always comes out fiery anyway, but he knows, and even though they don't admit it publicly, they know what this game means, and especially in the position that we're in. The commissioner, I mean, ultimately, we win this one, we're in the Big 12 championship. The commissioner popping, comments talking crap, and then they all just really a lot of Big 12 folks, especially those that are staying, want Iowa State to pull the upset, and they're going to come out trying to do so. But ultimately, going back to this lineman, I think that energy is going to get matched on every level.
Yeah, I also, it's one of the, before we get into some of our players and stuff we want to see in this game from those guys, from our guys. One of the things about the recruiting and the 5 stars that I find to be ridiculous, the guy we started talking about off the show about with Jonathan Brooks is a 3-star recruit. Jalen Ford is a 3-star recruit. Ethan Burke, who's been one of our best defensive players, like probably our most underrated player, arguably, of this season, Ethan Burke, is a 3-star recruit from Westlake. So it's, yes, we have those 5-star guys in tow, and we always have because we're Texas, but it's really a lot of our 3-star guys that are stepping up. And I mean, Chris, I'm sure you saw it when you were there, that 5-star guys didn't end up being 5-star guys. And, 3-star guys were 3-star, ended up being 5-star guys in QU too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the most resounding things you see. You see guys that definitely shouldn't be there, and you see guys that should be playing a lot more. It's just one of the things, though. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't even 5-star. Like, most places had me at 4, some had me at like 3. But I mean, there's not a ton of 5 stars there usually.
Yeah. And really, ultimately, and I'll end it with this. It just thank you because you just showed your envy. I mean, what's funny is we expect it from A&M, we expect it from Baylor, from UTSA, from TCU, from Tech. Tech has a big old chip on their shoulder. But the Iowa States of the world, it's funny because you don't. It's usually a little more respect. Kansas is having a really good year, but Kansas still came in with a pretty good amount of respect. And this, I'll say that I already mentioned Campbell a couple of times. For me, this is absolutely vindicated. This is how their leader is. I think Campbell can get a little mouthy, and I think ultimately culturally, this is his lineman being a little bit like his coach. So I know his coach is probably pulling him over, going, "Damn, dude, pump the brakes. Save that for after the game." But that's the crazy piece. So
true.
It's say it after the game all day long. But now he's lit a fire, and I think T. Sweat and Murphy, he's gonna think twice about that after the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I've said it to you guys before. I've seen back-to-back in press conferences Caleb Williams carry himself the way that Lincoln Riley carries himself. It completely bleeds through from the coach to the player. Like it really does in college. We said, Chris, obviously you had that rookie rushing record. We have another, rookie freshman coming in tow who's going to be toting the rock for us. What have you seen from said CJ Baxter that you think that he could really take over this backfield and fill Jonathan Brooks' shoes?
Well, I haven't watched the most games this year, I'm not gonna lie, but what I have seen from a lot of the guys, that I've seen a lot of effort mostly, and that's, I mean, when you're running the ball, that's really the one thing that you need to be doing more than anything, is putting in some effort, because a lot of times you're just going to get a lot of lazy defenders. You're going to get a lot of like arm tackles. You're going to get a lot of like shoulder checks, and if you just push through, you'll be good. But what I have seen from him, I've seen a lot of explosiveness, seen some shiftiness. So I expect to see some mentoring from some mentorings, not hand holding, but just a little bit of like guiding him along the way. Just making sure if he just runs tough, he'll be good. He'll be straight.
Yeah. I mean, he was in line to start when the season started, and he went down in game 1, and then JB had to step up and do what he did this season. But you're right, man. I mean, this guy's a freak athlete. He's got a lot of burst, fights for extra yards. I mean, that's one of the underrated things, when you see a running back play, is like, getting a yard or two after contact. That, like, people just overlook that. They think that's super simple to do, but I mean, every time he makes contact, he's pushing forward for an extra 2 yards, which ultimately can, result to 3 or 4 first downs.
Yeah.
No, right. And then it's funny. Why people think it's simple is because Chris says it like it's so easy, because it was easy to him because he plowed through people all the time.
No.
Dude, I saw you. I saw you run over a lot of cats. And ultimately, you're right. I think CJ can do the same. what I think happened, and this is for his health and all the other. When he first got there, he started the season, but I think his pad level was pretty high. And I think as he watched JB get low, do what he need to do, hit the hole when he need to your point, he has that shiftiness, but when to utilize that is a different, beast. And that's a learn skill set as you get more games. In high school, he was so skilled in Florida. I bet he could do which, where, however he want to. But when you get in, Power 5 play, Big 12 play, it's really patience in certain levels. It's hitting the hole and all the above, and knowing the situational football. And I think that's where, really after JB went down, I think CJ averaged 6.8, 7 yards a carry. And so he certainly has the capabilities to next man up and even continue what Jonathan Brooks have done.
Yeah, maybe y'all could speak to this, but there could be something a little bit freeing that he's like not really fighting as much for playing time or playing back up to Jonathan Brooks. That kind of it's just a question in my head. Like, does he feel more free as a player that he could come in there? There's not as much competition and it's really his backfield now versus like, he's like every, rep counts, because if it's not as good, they'll just bring Brooks back in and they'll keep riding Brooks. Or is that, Chris, is that a wrong way of thinking?
I think the wrong position for that. I think ultimately quarterbacks, yes. If you're going every 3 or 4 series and different stuff like that, I think even receivers, it's so weird because they rotate a little bit more than I was used to. But as a running back, and Chris can speak to this way more, it's almost expected, Now it really, truly, it's so hard to be that. Back in the day when you're running 35, 40 plays a game, you can get her done. Now you're running 65, sometimes 70. So in my opinion, in those offenses, you just have to. And there's situational backs. There's first, second. Then you got my man that's going to. Zeke was so good at being in there on third down later in his career, landing that blitz and all the above. So I don't know that level free kind of have it himself, because I think you're still going to have another guy in there, maybe Blue or whomever, that can come in and kind of take some of the pressure off and pass protection with him being a true freshman. But Chris, you know that even better than I do.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, because the thing about running back especially is just like people don't acknowledge or appreciate the art of running the football, first of all. So they think it's all O linemen most of the time. They're like, oh, is it okay? Or it's either the running back is super special or it's the O line. And if you go out with these expectations, you should be doing the same thing. But it's not like that. You got to get into a rhythm. That's I think the toughest part about having just a loaded room is just finding a guy to get into a rhythm. But some guys, they don't need that. Some guys are those little scat guys that can get 20 yards, whatever, on a run, come out 3 or 4 series, go back in, do it again. But it's normally not like that, but it's different.
Yeah,
it's different for each guy.
Different specialties, for different players. And with a guy like Bijan, like he just had so many different like weapons in his own arsenal that he could pass block, he can catch the ball, he was shifty, he had power. On our offense right now, I'm looking, like Keelan Robinson's that quick guy, that scat back that we'd probably love to throw the ball to more often. I see a lot of that in Jaden Blue. CJ, I think, is more of like one of those do it all. You got a pass block as well. So, yeah, he already has 87 carries this season too, freshman year. Right off the bat, like that's a lot of carries for a freshman. So I don't think he'd be looking over his shoulder at all. I think if anything, he's welcoming this opportunity. I'm sure he wants the other guys to get their opportunities as well, like Jaden and Keelan, as I mentioned.
Well, and even Bijan, having that abilities, Rojo got a lot of carries. Rojo was still that situational guy. Bijan's kind of the starter, have his packages, but there was series Rojo started and had his. And running backs is such a unique evolution of that position, right? Fullbacks in the league, there might be 5 of them, and then in college, you saw K-State had a good one that they even utilize him mainly as a tight end. So fullbacks is a whole nother world. But even at the running back position, I think it's changed, because one way you can give them a break or give them kind of third down and whatever is speed, jet sweep with Jay Witt, on the Jets. There's just so many ways to utilize certain levels of it. We've seen Worthy on the reverse, so you just got to get strategic. But ultimately, going back to him being in that position, 87 carries, really pretty good average. I think at the end of the day, running backs are great and they can break tackles and they can do a lot of things. But what make running backs, quarterbacks, receivers, and everybody else good is that O-line. You open up a hole that a truck can drive through, he's going to be pretty dang good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and our offensive line has been pretty fantastic, especially, I mean, maybe not as much in the run game as the pass game. We didn't allow a single sack last week, but you really can't ask for a lot more than what our offensive line has been doing. And, a lot of the running backs, Brooks did it great. And I think Baxter's, shown some explosiveness in his coming back from injury. And one of Bijan's bread and butter is everyone always talked about his shiftiness, his speed, his elusiveness. But like Nick, you were saying, he just had a great ability to move forward. He always got that extra yard or two, the extra 3 yards, which I think made him really great. Quickly around the horn, Nick, we'll start with you, Q, then Chris, then I'll go last. One key to the game you want to see from our team to really pull this one out against Iowa State on the road.
The biggest thing for me is sorry, did I skip Q? Did you say Nick?
No, I said you first.
Got it. Biggest thing for me is just play a clean game. Don't let this get to your head. Don't let the trash talk or them trying to get under your feathers, under your skin, ruffle your feathers. Play a clean game. No penalties, no unsportsmanlike, conduct penalties. Don't push anybody out of bounds. Don't hit anyone. Like, they're going to try to hit you. They're going to try to get you to crack and try to spoil your season and try to get you suspended. And this is one of those games where you just got to, check the scoreboard and then let them know that you're going to play an extra week than they are because we're going to the conference championship and they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. Q?
Yeah, man, I like that. And by clean game, I say controlled chaos.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think this is a sport you can knock the what out of them, and I think you need to knock the what out of them. I'm pissed off. When I saw it, I was like, oh, hell no. But you can do that in a clean way. All it truly is like Chris said earlier, it's a level of effort. Really just find that little extra in the tank because, one, you're going to need it. You're in such a position. I mean, you're in a position to freaking go to the Big 12 championship and win this thing going out. There needs to be a level of intensity that comes with that. You're too damn close to not let that add fuel to the fire itself. So really, this is just another brick. Really, where you are, you're 9-1, you're number 7, the highest you've ever been in this era. You win this, you're in. I mean, you really control your own destiny. And then they add some more elements. It's going to be cold, so manage that. But I think the best way to manage it psychologically is to just, if there's such a thing, run around like your hair on fire in a semi-controlled way so that you don't make mistakes and get penalties, but that when that game is over, they probably won't say a damn thing if they ever play you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of more along the line with Q over here. I'm definitely more like, hey, like, who are they to talk trash to us? Come on. Like, show them what's up. Like, because, I mean, I was never the biggest trash talker, but I don't let nobody talk to me like that, period. So, and especially since, like, we're 9-1, we are, like, the team in the Big 12 right now. We have a chance to go to we have a chance to go all the way, to be honest. I think it's a genuine playoff team, genuinely. Now you just go into this Big 12 game, you just push on, keep it going. I mean, like, put your foot on the throat, play the game how you're supposed to play the game, and just don't do anything stupid. I mean, it's what every coach says whenever you go into a game like this. Q, Absolutely. And those team meetings, you get the head coach sitting there. He's like, all right, guys, we're going to go in there. They got nothing to lose. Just don't do nothing stupid. I mean, it's basically how it is. You go out there, you put your best foot forward. You show them why you're 9-1, should be 10-0. And then you go out there and you'll take care of business, get back on the plane, head home, and get ready for the next week.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Josh,
absolutely.
Before you go,
please,
do Chris and Quan, do we expect that we carry the ball less this game because we're down a running back? You think that we pass the ball more just to keep our guys a little bit healthier?
It's hard to say because for me, I expect them with Jay Brooks being out to just run a little bit. They run that 3-3, whatever that gibberish is. But I think the defense predicates that. Ultimately, if they think we're going to pass more and they're going to go dime the whole way, or they're going, too high the whole way, no, run the damn ball down their throat. And especially with our old line. So I think the defense, you plan for both. Now, absolutely, like I said, jet screen, a few bubble screens, screen game in general, depending on the skill sets of the guys you have in there. But I don't know, mainly because of what Iowa State is going to throw at us versus our plan. We're pretty balanced, and we always have been. We really Jay Brooks get his, but then Jay Brooks get his, and Mitchell has 110, Worthy has 100. Jay Witt has 70. So Sanders, we haven't even brought him up. He has his 80 to 100. So we're a pretty balanced team, and I think we're going to stick to that unless they do something tricky or crazy, which they're actually known for doing a little bit versus us on defense. And if they do something weird, we'll adjust accordingly.
No doubt.
Yeah. I mean, I think kind of going off what these guys are saying, Nick and Co, like not making any slip ups in the sense of like respecting them a little bit too. Like they have won 4 of their last 5. They are tied for second in the conference. They're not playing for anything. Like there's a way where they can get to the Big 12 championship too. Like, yes, they want to beat us. Yes, this is their Super Bowl, but they're also playing for that extra game, like you said. And they have guys in their team that are pros, like TJ Tampa, their cornerback, is one of the top rated corners in the league. Like he just is. Like he's a real and honestly, on for what it's worth, sometimes they'll throw the Pro Football Focus stats. They're the 28th ranked team out of all 130, and they're a top 30 defense. So defensively, Campbell and this Iowa State team always have a pretty solid defense, and nothing's really changed this season. Like they're going to give us a really tough time. It's a night game. It's 5 p.m. our time, so it's late for y'all. In the West Coast, it's 5 p.m., which is nice. But it's a late game at night, and we're going again into their place, and their defense is going to be tough. So it's really just playing our game too on the defensive side. Like Chris, you said we have a playoff team. We always go back and forth on our show whether this is a playoff team or this isn't. I think at full health, our defense, when it's firing on all cylinders, is a playoff defense, is what I'll say. I think there are lapses in the offense and there are injuries in the offense that could prevent us, from being a quote unquote playoff team or playoff roster. But defensively, when our defense is firing on all cylinders at full tilt, this is a playoff defense. So I think keeping that in mind and going at their offensive linemen who are talking smack on what is our strongest point, like you said, Q, with Murphy and Sweat, I think that'll ultimately lead us to a victory where some pundits out there are pegging that this is the game where we actually slip up. And I think we throw it in their face.
I think one thing too about the playoff piece of it, I don't think anybody's saying we're not a playoff team, because you win the Big 12 and you win out, you're going to be in the playoff. You better. I think the conversation is, can we win that natty? That's where I'm not sure.
There's a distinction between being in the playoff and being able to compete against like a Georgia or whatever for that
TCU
for that title game.
Was in the playoff. TCU got beat by 80. You know what I mean? And that's ultimately the different conversation for me. But one last thing I want to touch on is the night game in Ames. Dude, we beat the hell out of Alabama in Tuscaloosa at night.
Yeah,
I promise you, Ames, Iowa is not crazier. I was at the game. It was not crazier than Tuscaloosa at night.
It's not.
And so
it's not.
Let's calm down, Mr. Lyman.
They're all going out for a team bingo afterwards. After they won.
I'm like, bro, come on now. So and by the way, let's look at Ames' night record versus Alabama's. And so ultimately, we know what we are and who we are. If we play that complete game, we can beat the crap out of them. We don't give a damn if it's night, 11, 2:30, you name it. So and I know Sark will say the same. Like the biggest deal has been made. And again, they play us tough. Everybody does. But we played a night game on the road this year. And let's be real. It's the most complete. Well, we just played another one. It wasn't complete, but we played plenty of night games on the road, and this will just be another one, a little colder. But Iowa State is no scarier. Not that we're not going to respect them, but Crimson Tide is a little more intense at night than Ames, Iowa.
Yeah. Chris, a couple questions on your career in Texas, if you don't mind. You had two coaches, Chuck Strong, a player's coach, a lot of guys loved. Unfortunately, didn't work out for him. And then you had Herman in his first year. What do you think didn't work out for those two coaches? And why didn't they last versus a guy like Sark, who's now, it's seemingly we found our guy, and this is hopefully going to be their coach for a long time. And maybe anything you've heard from players that you know now that are on the team.
I don't really talk to many of the players now. I just basically talk to maybe one or two of them, tell them, hey, good luck or whatever for the season and all that. I've never been one to really like reach out and all that. But what I can say about the previous two coaches, I'm not sure. I think that was from being there, in my personal experience, I would say it's more or less just like the wrong people were with the wrong people. I mean, that's the only thing I can really think. Because when Strong was there, he had all of Mac's guys, right? And he was trying to build something with them, but basically didn't work out, right? And by the time his guys all got there, it was Herman's group. It was Herman and them. And then that didn't work out. And then I think also it's a matter of sticking with something. I think we as a group flip-flop very easily as a fan base. I think that's one thing that we have as I think is I will own up to it as a flaw of us UT fans. We high 1 second and we are low the next.
Bro,
that is
I would actually say more low than high, because
for sure
the amount of texts I've gotten this week, and we're 9-1 and control our destiny.
Oh my God! Don't get me started with
that. Listen, folks, listen. I had to pull the whole Bobby Bowden. First year, get our head beat in. Next year, lose close games. Third year, win close games. Fourth year, you're beating people's head in. I was like, I've been pulling out everything on the planet because, I mean, I was listening to the radio in Austin this morning. We're 9-1, but it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel good. I was like, if you don't feel good about where we are, that's your own damn problem. Because I promise you know who we're not? We're not A&M. They just fired their coach. Baylor's coach is on the chopping block. I mean, there's a lot. There may be 5 to 6 Texas jobs this year open after this season. And thank goodness, finally, we're not one of them. And so those are the perspective, I think, as a fan base, we sometimes get just a bit entitled. And we need to pump the brakes, be present, and appreciate where the hell we are, because we haven't been 9-1 since 2009. And and let's be real, as much as we won, we were 9-1 once, maybe twice. Nah, I'll take that back. We were 9-1 every year because we lost A&M a couple of times. But still, then there was times where they didn't appreciate that. So I'm gonna appreciate the heck out of it. And so you're so right, Chris. We're tough on our crew, and that consistency is a big deal.
The fact that we matched our season win total from last year 2 weeks ago, and we still have got at least 2 more games to play, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 games to play. It's unbelievable. And
bro, we were happy to be bowl eligible at one point. Just being real.
Yeah, I mean, like we were excited to just be in the Alamo Bowl yet again and again and again
against Mizzou for the 5th time. I feel like we play Mizzou every time, dude. It's always against Mizzou. All right,
which New Year's Six bowl are we going to be in?
And even that's not an indictment on the players, or really it's an indictment on, in my opinion, the administration's change. I say it all the time, man. With these guys, I had the same people my entire time. We've changed 3, 4 ADs, 3 presidents, so many levels to it. But now we got the best president in the country, Jay Hartzell. Shout out to my dude. CDC is doing a really good job. So much excitement, fan experience, and all of that is next level now. Chris, you need to get back over there so we can have some fun. And then Sark gets it. I mean, Sark may not have been the overall so-called choice, but he was the right choice in my opinion. He was the right person for the job. We've talked about that a million times. Texas is not a big name place. Texas is the right person place, and that's where I think we went wrong. In the other, it's not even an indictment to Charlie. Herman's a whole nother conversation, but it's not even an indictment to Charlie. Charlie's a great man. I still keep in touch with Charlie. Charlie's the man. Now we have the right person. We have the light. They are all aligned as we talk about, and I think that's when you start to see the success like we have, and culture slowly but surely building.
For sure.
Yeah, it's really, really well said, Q. Deonta Foreman was a guy you shared the backfield with, Chris, and we were talking a little bit before the show, and we never really covered him on. Unfortunately, honestly, we haven't really talked about that season on the show. Maybe that is a testament to how underrated it was. Where do you think?
I can tell you why.
Yeah, please.
Because we lost to Kansas that year. That's why y'all don't talk. That's why no one talks about it.
Oh yeah, he had a few fumbles that game, huh?
I think he had 1 or 2, but I mean, we lost to Kansas that year, and that's why no one talks about that year ever.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, that was a road game.
That was a nail in the coffin for.
Yeah, because I remember I was watching that game with Malik because Malik was also hurt that year.
Great game.
I tore my PCL, I think, and I was out, but I was there watching the game, and I mean, the dude had like 35 carries, 40 carries, something like that, and we lost to Kansas. I mean, that's why we don't talk about his award that he got, just the monumental season that it was. I mean, if we won that game, more people would probably be talking about that season, to be honest, in my opinion.
Because it was a phenomenal season, and he was the Doak Walker winner.
Does that hurt you as his team? I don't know y'all's relationship, of course, but does that hurt you as his teammate? You know?
Oh yeah. I mean, I wasn't really close with Deontay. Deontay and myself are not necessarily polar opposites, but we definitely are just different people, to say the least. But yeah, no, because I mean, when you spend that much time with somebody, like, you're going to be attached to them in some way or another. And I supported him. It's my boy. And he was out there, he was doing his thing, and he was running away with it. And then, I mean, it's just, I felt bad for him, man. I mean, especially since before, it felt like he wasn't as invested, but when he started getting his footing, he started to get a lot more invested. I'm sure, Q, you can speak to it whenever you see a teammate that realizes something, and then they finally start putting a little more effort into something. They're starting to get a little more better, a little more film, a little more treatment, and then it adds up. And it sucked for me to watch.
You know, it's crazy.
Well, and there's more factors even behind the curtain. There is, his brother was there, and he was kind of. It was a lot of moving parts during that time.
There was a lot of moving parts.
I go back to things being aligned. Things weren't as aligned during that time to certain levels. And so, and it's not their fault. It's just a lot of moving parts, but that's why. And when he started balling out, he did just prepare differently. He saw the future. And I'm going to tell you what's even crazier. His brother was a higher recruits, going back to the whole star stuff and all that stuff. It was almost like, let's have and I don't mean this in a negative way toward Foreman. He's still in the league doing this thing. Love what he did for UT, but it's like throw in, like, hey, take his brother at running back too, and he ended up just balling out. So a lot more to that piece of it. But
you know, it's crazy. He carried the ball 51 times against Kansas in that loss.
Yeah.
How are you doing that? Why are you doing that to a player?
No, how many plays did we run that game? That sounds like an 80-play game. 90 play.
63 rushing, 17 passing. So that's
on the dot.
Who was a quarterback?
Shane
Buechele.
Wow, that's surprising. And the weather wasn't terrible for him to only throw the ball 17 times. Well, again, that's my point on alignment. We had already shuffled through a couple of
that was our coordinators. Third offensive coordinator.
Those are the back things that you just don't realize when you're thinking about that. And that coordinator's struggling. our fan base is ready to throw them out already. Charlie, essentially, I was there doing radio, and one of the saddest scenes I've ever been in, just with staff and friends and family. It was a crazy day. So all these different coaches, just all these different pieces, man. It was that was a wild game. This is why we don't talk about it. I got over here salt all kinds in my wound over here. We're not
can't talk about it, man.
You're just a victim of your own success. We'll wrap this somber segment up of the show. I had to ask though. I had to ask. Because Nick and I were students during the time you were playing, Chris. And I remember being at every single game. And I remember waking up one day in the fall and going, whoa. This kid is having a season of all seasons, a season as good as Ricky, a season as good as, Benson, Campbell, as Jamal Charles, Priest Holmes, and nobody is giving him the love in the nation that he deserves. And I remember being bummed as a fan. I remember being, bummed as a fan that I felt like Charlie never got a fair shake, I was
about to say, that's another piece of it.
A full shake too.
Love because we had donors saying Charlie's not the guy. So it was just a bad time for the Longhorn athletic and especially Longhorn football space.
It's crazy that he finished 8th in the nation for Heisman voting that year.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson won it, then Deshaun, then Baker, then Dede Westbrook, then Jabril Peppers, then Jake Browning, then Jonathan Allen, defensive lineman, then Deonta Foreman. Wow. That's how much they value wins in college football. I mean, that's a 5-7 team right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But appreciate you sharing that and giving that insight, Chris, man. It's something we've always been very curious about. And then on a lighter note, we always ask our Longhorn brothers this and sisters. We have to get some more sisters on the show. It's been only the bros. It's been a bro hangout. We had Chris Harris Jr. from Kansas. He's got all daughters. He's like, this is where I come out to hang out with the homies. This is my time away. It's my time away. What's your favorite moment as a Longhorn? And this could be from anything, man. Playing, it could be you just out and about in Austin with your friends. Anything your favorite moment? Well,
I'd say moment / memory, whichever one.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Like that first win against Notre Dame at home. To this day,
Sunday, that was special overtime.
I mean, because it was just the fact that the season before was so jaded. Oh, it was so bad. Oh, everything about the year before, everything, and then we started the season like that. Oh my goodness, at home. Oh yeah, that's my favorite memory from my time. To be honest, there's nothing. Even my times watching the OU games, those were great and everything, but I mean, it's just that Notre Dame game that's my favorite memory by far. I will never forget that.
That was an electric moment.
It's probably the top 3 sporting event I've ever been to in my entire life. And I've seen the Red Sox. I'm a Red Sox fan. I've seen the Red Sox win the World Series live in person. And I would say that was probably, I had an ankle sprain and I was in the stands jumping up and down.
Hey, Chris, you just did some. I lied. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I was doing the post game. I hadn't done post game for a long time. And Will Matthews' wife had a kid. So I did it the K-State game and I just did it the TCU game. Well, hell, I said I've never called an overtime game.
That was double overtime game.
That was double overtime. Damn it, you made a liar out of me. I totally forgot about that.
So, I mean, to be fair, it's a double overtime, so it's double overtime, not just overtime.
Yeah, right.
Chris, are you an attorney now? Because you think I'm so
that stretch that he had, that Tyrone had in the end zone, just will ever be ingrained in my mind. He just dives for it, walk off touchdown.
Dude, I got a great video of that, by the way. I'll show
you. That season, to be completely honest, I think they were number 10 when we beat them or something, right?
We were number 10, and then we went out I think when we went out the Cal, we were 9. We were either 9, 10, or 11. It was somewhere around there.
Yeah, beat the brakes off of UTEP, and then top 10 team, and then just season just falls off, wheels fall off from Cal. I think 3-game losing streak. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma.
I was beyond pissed because Oklahoma State was going to be a game. We were going to win that game too.
Yeah, well, that's on a good note. those games as Texas fans, you guys are players. These are the games though that we're winning now as a program, and that's been a great shift. Like a game against like TCU, like we saw last weekend, Texas loses that game somehow, some way.
That's what I try to tell a lot of fans. Like a lot of fans don't understand that like we're winning those games now, whether it be 3 points or like 17 points. Like the past like 7 years, we haven't been winning those games. Even though we should, we haven't been. Now we are winning those games.
So it feels a little different.
Yeah, we gotta we're winning those games. We're winning the big games and we're winning the little games.
Right.
So let's go ahead and let's take that.
And that's why there's that distinction for being a playoff team where we're just squeaking by and winning those games, and being a actual champion and
that's
not even being in those games where we're just like there's no doubt,
Yeah, Q can tell you as one of those teams that's going for the championship. You got to be able to just if they are not supposed to be on the field with you. They're not supposed to be on the field.
And they need to know by halftime that damn. All right, let's get this one over with. Get back on
the anybody that's played, you guys walk out there. They're like, all right, I'm trying to be done by halftime. All right, let's go. So you go out there and you do it, but we'll get there. I think we'll get there. To be honest, I really like this group. I like what's being done. I think that they have a lot they can give. I really do.
Yeah. The recruiting's fire. We just landed another big recruit, DB. So you keep that rolling. It's going to, I guess that makes the lineman a little bit true, but now we're about to back it up. Dang it.
Yeah, for absolutely. Sure. We close games, the K-State game, like that was one of those times I'm like, here we go again. And we did the 4 and out, like put, we had to stand. So really well said, everybody all around.
Big shout out Texas basketball, landed the number 4 recruit.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I'm going to the game tonight. We're going to see Rice tonight, baby.
That's a huge recruit. Huge recruit for RT
Johnson.
Good job, RT. Rodney Terry.
Love
Everybody
him.
wondered, is it over? No, that dude's recruiting, and he has a really good team. Very differently structured than the Chris Beard teams. But I went to the opening night, and I like what I saw. Watched the other night. We got some bigs down there who are nasty. Oh boy, from Virginia, dude. They're not afraid to bounce around. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing early on.
Yep.
Duke already has a loss. Kentucky already has a loss.
Michigan State not Kentucky.
Too. USC lost to UC Irvine the other day.
Yeah, there's some teams that are, considered blue bloods that already lost a game. So we're going to take our 2-0, 3-0 and try to extend it tonight.
Let's do it.
Love it. Hoops, RT, again, coinciding with what you said about SARQ. It's not always the name guy, it's the right guy. And I think we have a lot of that at Texas. Chris, W3, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see you, fam.
Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Good seeing you guys.
Anytime, man, you're always welcome. Nikki Snacks Crider, the DJ himself, and the Quan Cosby. We'll see you guys. Let's go to Ames at night in their face. Let's be done by half, baby. Hook 'em horns.
Or if we win by 1, I don't care. Just beat them.
Just get the win.
Wins. Hook 'em horns. We'll see you guys next time.
Hook 'em, baby.